Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Greetings and salutations. This is Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. Did you like that? I did that instead of welcome.
I'm not even going to give you the luxury of making a comment about that. Otherwise, it'll just get stupider from here on out.
Oh, it's a thing now. No, I don't know. I thought of that earlier today and thought I might get a rise out of you. So how you doing, Jacob? Besides that intro, how you doing?
I've been pretty good. Busy at work. The Tigers are back, though, so it's okay. Things are looking up. You don't feel so, though. And Jason's exact words, I was excited yesterday. Jason's exact words were, "It's too late." It's June, Jason. Let me have this.
You couldn't have it. We don't want to have a boring summer of watching the Tigers blow games, but yesterday up 6-0, and then they end up winning 10-9. That is,
if they lost, you bet your butt I was going to send you a text like, this is your fault.
It's all right. Hey, we're up 5-0 today. We'll see how we come out in the end of this one.
Hey, the bats are on fire.
I mean, it's not like, they're playing Tampa Bay. That's a quality team.
Right.
I think are they leading their division, or I don't know if they're beating the Yankees or not, but they're right up there with them.
They were in first. They've only lost, I think they said today, they lost like 6 games at home all year.
Yep. Are your kids home from school yet, or are they still?
Couple more days. Today was the last full day, and then they've got 2 half days, which for, Milo in elementary school is just, it's whatever. They're hanging out, they're partying, they're wrapping up, they're cleaning up their stuff. But JJ has finals the next couple days, so.
Okay.
Your kids already out, though?
They got out last Friday.
That's what I thought, because they go the week before my kids,
They go earlier, than yours. They got a new game today. They got the 007 first day or first light or whatever.
Yes. How's that?
They both tell me all about the game. I'm going to play it. I haven't started it yet, but they both love it, and I'm happy because those games are not cheap, and I was really hoping that we wouldn't buy it, and then they play it for 5 minutes and be like, I don't like it. But no, Preston loved it, and then Bradley's in it, and Bradley comes and tells me after every cool moment of the game. So I'm having the game spoiled for me, but it'll be fun playing it when I have time. Got lots of stuff to talk about today, don't we? We are going to do one position today for our breakdown series. That is the wide receiver position, which is, a big-time wide receiver was signed to an extension today, not in our division, but we'll be talking about that. But yesterday, a couple of trades broke. A.J. Brown, which was expected, not a surprise at all. Myles Garrett, however, did not see that one coming, especially not to the Rams, so we'll be talking about that. Jacob's got a couple other things. I see Madden 27 cover on there. I don't know anything about it, so I'll be glad to hear from you on that.
Yes. Nice.
And the Lions started training camp, or now OTAs, not training camp. And beat writers got a little look last week. We got a little information. We did have an interesting, at least interesting to me, Dan Campbell press conference. Not interesting in the normal sense, though. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll get to the wide receiver position. So, Jacob, what do we want to start with? A.J. Brown, Myles Garrett, or you want to go with something else?
Let's start with the A.J. Brown, Myles Garrett thing. We'll go A.J. first, just because that one we can kind of gloss over. Because that one's not, it's old news, but it's not. Obviously, that was rumored. It was like pretty much all done. It just needed to wait until June 1st for it to become official. But, A.J. Brown reunited with Mike Vrabel. In my opinion, I kind of think that history will repeat itself the same way that it did before, because he was with Vrabel in Tennessee. They kind of had a little bit of an ugly, not him and Vrabel, but, A.J. Brown, the organization, kind of had like an ugly thing going on, and they ended up trading him. He plays super well in Philly the first year, right? Breaking records, just doing all kinds of crazy stuff in Philly. And then the next few years, he kind of battled injuries. He was, still a great receiver. I would say great, but maybe not as elite as he looked that first year. I feel like history repeats itself, and he has a crazy good year this first season. Just, history's repeating itself. Something about him proving the last guy is wrong, and then just being a nuisance to the team from there on out.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like, if it was a one-time only thing that happened with Tennessee, you could just say, okay, well, there was just some bad mojo there. But now it happened at the Eagles. It's not like the Eagles weren't winning. I mean, they got a Super Bowl championship while he's on the roster. He played really well with Jalen Hurts, and then there's rumors of them going rogue. At the last drive with Green Bay Packers. Who knows? I'm with you. I think he has a good season as long as he's healthy this year. Maybe even great. You got Drake May out there. This is gonna be a real target for Drake May, and Drake May had a good season last year, so it could be the right time for him. Giving up a first rounder, what's your thoughts on that for him?
It's hard to say. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that seems like that's par for the course. Like you're getting a first round return. It wasn't next year's first rounder, it was 2 years from now's first
Yeah.
rounder. So that was kind of weird too. But I mean, you've seen top tier receivers get traded for less. And for
Mhm. I
somebody
know.
that absolutely wanted out of Philadelphia, you kind of wonder if they could have, maybe got away with 2 seconds or, something else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the writing was on the wall for him leaving Philadelphia. And I almost equate it not like, to the David Montgomery thing. Like a lot of people expected him to move on. So to get a good value and trade in return for David Montgomery, I was very surprised by that. This is a pretty good value return for A.J. Brown for a guy that you knew was on the outs there. I don't know, and for all intents and purposes, I don't know if it's because of the Dan Rossini stuff or whatever, but it just seems like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to the Patriots. So I don't know if there were any other teams competing for AJ Brown even, or if they just went to the Patriots and got what they needed, and were happy with it. I do not like the Eagles getting an extra first round pick though. They draft so well. I don't like giving them more ammunition than they need.
That's true. And I mean, they're probably ready to be done with AJ Brown with the way
Right.
things are going. And I mean, I don't like having somebody in the locker room that, you win a game, but they only catch 2 or 3 passes and then they throw a fit. And then he went on like Instagram Live or something. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like that attitude either. And wouldn't fly here in Detroit. I could tell you that.
Right.
Let's talk about Myles Garrett. Okay. That was a surprising trade. I mean, it was surprising that it happened. Then it's also really surprising. You don't see like Pro Bowl players being traded for each other very often. And this was a very interesting deal. So, uh, in case you don't know, it's Myles Garrett for Jared Verse, a first rounder this year, a second rounder 2 years from now, and a third rounder 3 years from now is how it breaks down. So I'm wondering, like, just off the tip, who do you think won that trade? Do you think there is a clear winner in this trade?
I don't, I honestly don't think you could say there's a clear winner right now
Mhm.
because the Browns, I get what they're going for. I get what they're thinking by getting Jared Verse in return. A little bit younger, still a solid player, could potentially get up, and maybe a little more resemble Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett breaking records, defensive player of the year, playing the way that he is right now. He wants to win right now. So
Mhm.
I don't think the Browns were pulling a move to do right by him. I think they were just thinking we've got somebody that's unhappy. Here we've got a chance to get a little bit younger and get some draft stock. We're going to go with it. And then the Rams, obviously, they're like, hey, we can win right now. We have our window open while we've got Stafford. They drafted a rookie quarterback in the first round, though, waiting in the wings, or we'll see if the Stafford injury, flares up or anything like that. But this is not unlike the Jared Goff thing, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
they're making the move to win right now, but maybe they have not set themselves up, for failure in the future either.
Yeah, I think I hate it, but that they made a good deal. But it is I got the same vibes to the Jared Goff thing where it's good for both teams. The Browns were not going to win this year. They probably weren't going to win next year. And you know, Myles Garrett's 30. So you're talking at 30, you're 32. He's amazing and he'll probably still play amazing at 32, but he's going to probably play less snaps. He's going to be, on a snap count, those type of things that happen when you get older. Whereas now they got Jared Verse. So you got 5 years, well, you got 2 years left on his rookie deal, which, is a huge cap savings for them. Still going to have a productive player, but then you're hoping that you get through this cap stuff and then you're going to come out on the other end. And after the next couple of years, because the Deshaun Watson stuff is really turning their cap up too. So I mean, they could have upwards of 100 million in dead cap space next year, which you're not going to be able to fill the competitive team with $100 million of dead cap space. But then after that, you're done with it, and you might possibly still have Jared Verse on the team at age 28 because that'd be like his fifth year option. Myles Garrett will be 33 at that point, and they're going to have decisions to make at the Rams. But the only thing that makes this possible for the Rams is that they draft so well later on in the draft. Like, that's why I just, not every team could do what the Rams can do.
Absolutely.
It's so
But I
frustrating.
mean, it's just crazy that, the Rams get McDuffie and Myles Garrett in the offseason when they already played so well last year and were right on the cusp. You got to think this just catapults them into being Super Bowl favorites. And my concern right away, like within minutes of hearing the Myles Garrett news, I told you and I told JJ the same thing. I was like, what if Aaron Donald comes out of retirement? Because if you're Aaron Donald and you're staying in shape, you're working out, you just don't, maybe the fire is gone or like, you were a little banged up. Now you've had, some rest. You see what they're building. You don't need to sign for a max contract or anything like that. Do we see Aaron Donald come out of retirement? And how crazy would it be if he does?
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. I just don't. I'm tired of the Rams. I don't want anything, whatever.
Yeah.
It just makes me so mad because we could be there, and I don't think we were ever in the market for this trade or anything like that. And I just don't like to give people fuel to fire like Brad Holmes doesn't want to win, because I don't think that that's true at all. And I mean, what would have had the GM of the Browns said they were not going to trade Myles Garrett until Jared Verse was thrown into the conversation.
Right.
So at that point, they're looking for a Pro Bowl player in return. And, people throw out like, oh, we'd have to throw Hutch in there. Well, Hutch wouldn't even Browns would have been interested in that, because it would have cost the Browns more money to have Hutchinson on their team rather than Myles Garrett, because a lot of the bonus structure was moved in with Myles Garrett, so it wouldn't have saved them any money. So we would have had to give them more than what the Rams did. They just, they took advantage of Verse on a rookie deal. And Dan Paskins in chat says that, he'd heard that the Rams would have had trouble paying to retaining Verse, because they would have had to, pony up money. They got Puka Nakua's contract coming up, all that stuff. It'll be interesting because if they go with Ty Simpson after this year, like say Stafford retires, then they're starting to be on a rookie contract. Now they're going to have extra money too, which
right.
It's crazy. But
great
you're
point
also
from Dan though. Great point from Dan about they've got that looming. They're like, let's just move on right now and we'll upgrade.
Yep,
give ourselves a better chance the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that's going to work out for both teams. However, I will say that putting all your eggs in one basket, not that Myles Garrett is the one basket, but if he were to get injured, say you have a Parsons situation, you really, really hamstring your team, because now you've gotten rid of a young player. You got an older player that's going to be coming off an injury. Like, then all of a sudden that draft pick that you traded, that first rounder, say Stafford gets injured, say Myles Garrett gets injured, all of a sudden you're giving up a top 10 pick like they did to the Lions, and we turned it into. So it could be a real coup for the Browns, especially if Verse works out. Verse is from Ohio too, so that there's a little bit of homecoming coming for him too.
I mean, the Rams already had a really solid defensive line. The Browns have a solid defensive line. You're just moving the best player over from one team to the other.
Yes.
I don't remember if I texted you this or not, but seeing they get Verse, a first, a second, and third, just reminds me of that ESPN mock trade when, they were talking about possibly Myles Garrett to the Lions, like what that would look like. And on ESPN, they said that the Lions would have to give up Jahmyr Gibbs and 3 first-round picks to get Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was hilarious at the time. Like, that would never happen. That's so stupid. And then now here we see, like, yeah, you were way far off. It was not even close to the return.
No. But, it's all, you got to work in the economics of all that too. And Myles Garrett had a pretty big contract, although the Browns were eating a fair amount of it. Like, I think, what is their cap number? I wrote it down here. Like, they have their dead cap on the deal this year is 15.5 million and 25.5 million. And that just wasn't on this contract. It was like on the previous contract that they had been carrying over, every time they re-sign Myles Garrett. And then I read something that, the Rams may feel the need to give Myles Garrett another contract because based on his average value, he's getting paid outside like the top 5. But I think that is really in his base salary, it's like that. But the bonuses have already been paid out, and that's what really pushes you up your average values. I don't really necessarily agree with like that he's going to need another contract, but it's Myles Garrett. He could probably ask for it and get something. I'm sure. Might have been discussed in the trade too. Like, can we talk to Myles and see what he's thinking about, like before we, hand over a Pro Bowl player versus a very good player. So you definitely are upgrading to Myles Garrett, but it's not like you're just trading draft picks and then adding Myles Garrett to your team. You're taking off a significant young player off your team,
Right.
To make this trade. So it's not like, replacement player level up to Myles Garrett. No, it's Pro Bowl player up to, one of the greatest defensive players in his generation, if not the greatest. So interesting. I'm curious how it's going to work out, but I'm glad we don't play the Rams at least until the playoffs, maybe the NFC Championship game or something.
There we go.
Oh man, right. The news broke shortly before this show, maybe within an hour or so. Drake London signed a contract. Why don't you break that down for everybody?
Yeah, so Falcons signed Drake London to a 4-year, $141 million extension through 2030. That puts him at the 3rd highest paid wide receiver in the league. What are your first thoughts? Is he worth that much money?
I like Drake London. I think he's really good. I don't think he's the 3rd best wide receiver in the league. Not that matters for the money wise. I mean, it just matters when your contract's up. After a couple cycles, he won't be the 3rd highest paid wide receiver. It is weird seeing him getting paid more than Justin Jefferson, though. I do not think that he's a better wide receiver than Justin Jefferson. It's just, cap goes up every year, contracts go up every year. So it's just the way it happens. It's just weird to look at it that way. I do think he was worth another contract. I don't know if he's worth this much. I don't see Drake London play all that much. We will see him. We play the Falcons this year, right? Yeah, so we will see him this year. But what's your thoughts on it?
I like him. I think he's a great receiver. But, for you to be part of this whole like catapulting, setting up the new bar and just raising up the cap, I feel like you have to be elite. You got to be towards the top. You have to be an elite receiver. And he was 24th in yards, 36th in receptions. He caught 7 touchdowns last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt. So, I mean, maybe they're banking on the full body of work and the growth and everything that they've seen. But it's also the Falcons they really like him. They really want to keep him on the team. They want to keep him happy. I wonder what the negotiations were like. Like, do they talk him down? Do they meet common ground here and decide on these numbers? Because, like you said, I mean, he's making more now than Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra. He's just above all of those guys. And I don't think he's better than any of them. Maybe DK now, like that he's, lost a step, I guess you might say. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to be top 5 in any receiving categories next year either, but he's going to be 3rd highest paid.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I give him some benefit of the doubt with quarterback play. Like if he had a better quarterback situation, maybe he'd have better
that was
numbers.
the knock on Justin Jefferson, and he outperformed him in all.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there. It's one of those things that like he's probably going to get that contract from someone else. Do you want to lose him or not? And
right.
That's for the team to decide. And you get put in a tough situation. That's why, I felt so confident about Amon-Ra's contract because I just knew he was going to be consistent and he's getting better. Although we'll talk about it in the wide receiver. I'll save my comments for that in the wide receiver section. But Madden 27 cover. I don't know what's going on there. So you tell.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't because JJ was my son was the one that brought it to my attention. He's like, hey, they leaked the Madden cover. And he told me who it was. And I was like, no, it's not. I was like, they leak that stuff all the time. That's not true. And The more I found, the more smoke I got. And then I saw the cover, which leads me to believe that it probably is true. And the Madden cover athlete, which is going to be announced officially, I think, in 2 days, is the Chicago Bears quarterback, Caleb Williams. And he's doing the Iceman pose on the cover of Madden, right?
Yeah, it's all right. Let that curse go, man. Let that curse be out into the open. Let's speak it to existence.
That
The
just
Bears
gives
are
the
going to be
Bears
done.
an excuse now, though. When they come plummeting back to earth, they're going to be like, it was the Madden curse. That's what did us in.
I don't care. That's awesome. I was afraid you were going to say Jameer, and the way you were talking that up, and now that it's Caleb, yes, I'm all about it. That's cool. We'll let that. I'm fine with it. Whatever. He with his 50% completion percentage and whatever, he could be the cover.
Right. I just thought it'd be because we were thinking before, like maybe it'd be Myles Garrett. I was like, how ironic would it be? Like Madden has everything printed and ready to go. Myles Garrett on the cover in a Browns uniform, and then just days before they announce he gets traded.
He gets traded. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. All right, so more. We'll see if that officially comes to fruition, and then we'll see if the curse takes hold right into training camp right away. Just passes, errant passes. Caleb Williams looks like he's been spending more time painting his nails than studying film. All those type of things. All right, let's get into some Lions talk here. OTAs were last week. The only thing that I really saw that was interesting is they had the list of the punt returners, and it was Dorch, Tom Kennedy. No surprise for either one of those two. Amon-Ra was in there, which doesn't surprise me that he's in there. But Pacheco was listed as the third one that took. Now, this is one practice early in the season. Doesn't mean too much. But I was interested. I actually got more interested in the thought of Pacheco being on the kickoff return team. If they're trying for a punt return team, then I start thinking that he is the type of guy that they want on. He's got speed. He's got power. They like durable guys and back there, that guys that could take punishment. So what's your thoughts on our number 2 running back if they were to be our kick returner? Would you be okay with that, or is that too risky for you?
I mean, that's what they tried to do when they had Sailors back there too, right?
Yeah.
You get Pacheco, an angry runner, physical runner, but also can hit a hole and run fast, has the speed to burst through. So I think that aligns perfectly with what they're trying to do. Punt now, probably not. But we both know from experience, how many practices have we been to? They line up a lot of people back there on punt return and kickoff return. And the majority of them never actually line up there during the actual games. It's just something that they do in practice. I don't know if it's just to get them reps or see what they have. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But I do think that we see Pacheco at least on some sort of trial basis during training camp, fielding some kickoff returns and seeing how that goes.
Yeah, I like the idea. I hope that it happens. I like the idea of him being able to use his vision with blocks. It's very similar to running, like the way they have the way the blocking sets up. I like the power. I like the speed. I know it's an injury risk, but I think it's worth it. And I think if you're big enough like that, the injury risk is a lot less now than it was during the traditional kickoff. Now that they have the dynamic kickoff, so I hope that we see it. I don't know why I haven't thought about that before, but when I saw the punt return, I was like, oh god, kick return would be awesome. Jacob, did you see the Dan Campbell presser from last week? Did you watch the whole thing? Or
I did.
Okay, I'll let you talk first. What was your initial impressions, thoughts, anything they said that you found interesting?
I liked it. I mean, he did a lot of a lot more, alluding to the fact that we're done messing around. And it's not like we ever messed around before, but it just seems like we're really trying to go back to basics. We're really back down to business. He did say, they asked him about Panay moving to left tackle, and that seems like that's 100%, like absolutely that's what's happening. Panay's already over there. That's definitely just what it's going to be. But I like the quote that he had, like, he's done with the hype of the pajama party in May, and that we'll find out in training camp who's who. I like that. And I also like, that we are taking things a little bit easier early on in the season. And I hope that will cut down on the injuries as the season progresses.
Mm-hmm.
He said, like, the league didn't take too kindly to, like, the walkthrough last year. And you hear all around, like, I don't know if you watch the St. Brown podcast, or like, Taryn Arnold has a podcast too. It just seems like a lot of other teams in the league do not take the physicality to the level that the Lions do. And while I like being a physical team and a no-nonsense team, something's got to be done with the injuries that we've been having the last couple of years. And I do think maybe lightening the load during practice and during the off season would go a long way towards being healthy in the regular season. Maybe Pride of Detroit had something come out where it was like the Super Bowl teams for the last like 4 years have been some of the healthier teams. Like the Eagles, I think had the lowest number of players on injured reserve in the entire league. So injuries are obviously a big factor, and it's caused a huge problem for us.
Yeah. 100%. The last couple of years have been derailed because of injuries, and not only because of injuries. I don't want to blame it all on that, but especially 2 years. Certainly 2 years ago, it really, it really probably kept us out of the Super Bowl. Um, I want to. Dan Campbell, like, just he was not like mean or condescending in his press conference, but it was almost like he was uninterested in being there. Like he just wanted to get down to business, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think it just shows this demeanor of how this team is going to be this year. Like, they're all pissed off that they didn't make the playoffs. Every beat writer made sure to remind them of that too. Like every time they interviewed a player, how was your mindset? How is that? How you feel about that? And like, it had to be tiring to say like, yeah, like that's not acceptable, and we're gonna do things about it. But they've obviously they made Lions have made a lot of changes. Hopefully, we'll see some differences next year, and no head-to-head practices. I mean, we're just going to be playing with our own team, which I have mixed feelings about that. But I think if your mind's in the space where that's causing injuries and you're not getting as much out of it, then why do it? And if you could get more use out of utilizing, because like Dan Campbell says, you lost extra practices, in that could they utilize, let's put our starters in the game and get them at reps. I think that it's going to be very important for our offensive line to get in-game reps in the preseason this year, and I know you probably feel the same way. Just get them reps being together, because it's going to be a whole I mean, there's the only one that could be in the same spot is Mahogany, and we don't even know if he's going to win that position. Everybody else is, and Tate Ratledge is going to be on the
Yeah.
right side. Those are going to be your only guys, your guards. Everybody else is going to be new. Even Panay Sewell is going to be on the other side. So be a lot of moving parts. It's going to be a lot for Jared Goff to get used to. Got a brand new center that he hasn't worked with before. So it's going to be very important. But I just like the whole demeanor of Dan Campbell not calling out players this early in the season. He would always do that, and I'm wondering, like, did the mindset of the players change? That oh, he called me out, I'm doing great. I you can let up a little bit or whatever. He basically isn't going to do any of that, and I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to get more questions about it from the media, or if he's just you know he just wants to get to the season. It feels like he just wants to get to training camp. Like this is just
Right.
going through the motions.
Me too. They're
Yeah,
ready to get to work,
exactly.
ready for it to happen.
Dan says the Niners have had our level of injuries and the Ravens too, so he hopes that we rework our practices. I think that reworking the practices will make a difference. I'm hoping, but also some of it is just the players that we get. Like, and we, especially our corners and secondary, we expect those guys to come up in the run game and lay out big hits, and that just adds to the injury risk too. And I don't know if you can necessarily ask your players to stop, being themselves.
Right. That you don't want, but I mean, you can lower the number of hits that they take.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. 100%. All right, Jacob. I'm ready to move on to our wide receiver thing. If you are,
Yeah.
all right. Let's go. Before we go into that, I
30,
do want to
32
ask.
minutes into the episode before we hit our main topic.
A lot of things happen. So, but
I
this
know,
is,
right?
that's I. We knew we were going to have to talk about that. Which I'm fine with. I'm glad that we got to talk about that. All right. So before we get into our wide receivers, just quickly, you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, also on Twitter at Talking Grit Pod. I have a goal, Jacob, and my goal is to get our reviews up on Spotify. We got 41. I would love to be above 50 by the time the season starts. So that's my goal. Try to get above 50 before the season starts, and then grow up from there. I'd like to see that on Spotify. reviews anywhere would be great, but specifically Spotify is where I'm looking at that for. So
We love the feedback. When you said get it
yes.
up, I was like, well, our number's pretty high. We're pretty highly
Our
rated.
number's
But
up.
now
I
it's
just
like,
want
wait
the
a minute.
number of reviews to keep going up.
I got it.
Yeah,
I see it
100%.
now.
No. Our number's pretty good. 4.8. That's pretty good for two guys that, you know, you sit in a closet talking about football. I'm sitting in my basement office.
Man, you had that one in the holster for how long?
Oh, I didn't. No. This is the one I had in the holster, though. We're going to talk about wide receivers. And in this team, this duo of Jacob and I, you, Jacob, are definitely the wide receiver. You're the crybaby of the group. You are the whiner when you don't get enough talk time. You know,
I
you're the
thought you
one
were
going.
talking about the talent and the speed and something.
See,
That's what I thought
exactly.
you were going with.
Talking yourself up. You're speaking it up, man. You're good.
That's all right, Jason. Your special teams category will come eventually.
I'm the Tom Kennedy. I just don't go away.
Yeah.
I just am here all the time.
Good analogy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's start out with the Lions. The Lions wide receiver group here. Dan Pass says Jacob in his Harry Potter closet. He knows that you like Harry Potter, man.
I don't know if he saw something. I've got Harry Potter stuff in here.
No. Yeah, if he's listened long enough, he knows that you like Harry Potter, so that's cool. All right, Jacob, start us off here with the Lions wide receiver group.
All right, Lions wide receivers. Starting from the top, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Isaac Tesla, Greg Dorch, Dominic Lovett, Kendrick Law, Jackson Meeks, Tom Kennedy, Malik Cunningham, and Cedric Wilson Jr. Just like we said last time, these are all the current wide receivers on the roster. Roughly half of these guys, or maybe more than half of them, will not be on the final roster. A lot of practice squad candidates here, though.
Yes. Heck yeah. Start out with Amon-Ra. So he, we just talked about Drake London's contract right now. Amon-Ra's cap hit jumps to $33.1 million this year. It was $13.9 million. They have not restructured his deal. We kind of wondering if they were going to restructure it to give some money. They did not do that. His cap hit next year is actually lower, $28.98 million. So they've kind of moved these caps around as, another players will be higher next year. So I thought that was interesting. And Amon-Ra only has one void year on his deal. So you could extend that out and make his deal cheaper. I did like seeing only one void year on there. Jameson Williams also signed a pretty good contract. He's got an $8.3 million cap hit. He, however, has 4 void years, and when it gets close, when his contract expires, he has $40 million in dead cap money. So that's why his cap hits are so low. And I like the contract, and when you look at it, like the production per the cap hit's really good. But we're going to pay for that at one point, and we're going to have to extend him in and work those dollars into a future contract, which means you're going to continue paying for that down the road.
Right. But I mean, if he's producing at the output that he is right now, you're okay with that.
The next one, I'm going to bring up Tesla. Isaac Tesla signed through 2028. I want to ask you, Jacob, what's a successful season for you for Tesla? Like at the end of the year, and it doesn't have to be numbers, doesn't have to be number of touchdowns, doesn't have to be receptions or yards. What's a successful season for you for Tesla look like?
That's a great question. Obviously, a successful team season would, equate to a successful season for him. On an individual level, I don't think I need to see too much out of him as our third wide receiver, other than just being a threat. Be a red zone threat, be a threat on third down, be a target for Jared Goff. We've got Amon-Ra, we've got J-Mo, we've got Laporta. Those are all taking targets away. He doesn't need to come out here and catch 100 passes, right? He doesn't have to catch 50 passes. So, I mean, it's hard to put a number on what would equate. I think him showing up in big moments and coming through in clutch situations, handful of touchdowns, handful of, crucial conversions would be a good season for me. I don't have too much stock in him, having some sort of Pro Bowl, or like I said, he doesn't need to catch 10 touchdowns or anything like that. What are your thoughts, though? I mean, it's kind of hard to gauge, but
no, because mine doesn't come down to numbers either. Mine comes out the third down and red zone, and you hit it right.
Yeah.
He's got to be a threat down there. I want to see the Josh Reynolds cut in and touchdown at the back of the end zone like he used to get. Use his big body. Tesla's huge. Like you've got a lot of height there. You know he's got great hands. Can catch away from his body. You could throw it up high, and you know, can we put him in the slot? And then you get a small nickel corner on him, set up some mismatches. But third down, we need to see third down catches. That's what I wanted. That'll be the improvement when if Jared Goff trusts him on third down, big time money downs, that'll be a successful season to me, and it'll show growth in Tesla and Jared Goff's connection with Tesla. We saw that towards the end of the year. I mean, he went right at in that Steelers game, a game that we needed to win. He did give Tesla red zone shots in a game that we need to win. Unfortunately, one of them he didn't come down. Other ones they have stupid penalties that called it back. That's where I think it comes in. I'm not going to get caught up with stats or anything like that. I would like to see like a couple highlight reel plays, and mine aren't necessarily catches because I know he's able to do that. Mine is a yard after catch like highlight play where he takes one across the middle or makes they throw a screen pass to him like wide receiver screen, and he breaks a couple tackles or makes a couple guys miss and takes it for a long gain. I want to see that type of growth because we know that he can make the catch was one of the most amazing catches I've ever seen.
Yeah,
So
right.
like we know he could do that. So growth for me is him being able to show it with some yards after the catch. Dorch is on the team. He's going to be our fourth option. You know, special team threat. I fully expect him to be the punt returner to start this season. You expected Khalif type numbers, less than Khalif. Or what's your expectations for Dorch this year?
Gadget player. I don't
Yeah.
think he'll be used even as much as Khalif was. I think that we definitely are going to like heavily target Amon-Ra, J-Mo, maybe Tesla. Hopefully Laporta is healthy. I think that Dorch comes in, changes speed, change pace, end around, doing different things, put him in motion. I don't know how much he's going to touch the ball. I just think that he's going to be a threat out there. I'm more interested, do we play? Does Lovett make the team? Right? Does Lovett make the team? Kendrick Law, Jackson Meeks has been around again. What are we doing with those guys? Are any of those guys actual threats to be out there or not? You hope that, barring injuries, we have the same solid three that are out there at all times.
Yeah, Kendrick Law is the interesting one because I think that he could do what Dorch does. Like Dorch has obviously got some more experience. So you're hoping this year Law, I could see Law, you know, moving into the Dominic Lovett position.
Yeah.
Dominic Lovett obviously didn't do much on, offense last year. He, you know, they have high hopes for him in special teams. But again, he's a seventh rounder. You spent a fifth rounder on Law this year, and Law has a lot of special teams experience, and you're hoping he could develop into the Khalif replacement. And Dorch is only signed for this year. Law will be the interesting guy. I'm going to look at camp, see what they're using, and does he make the 53?
We're going to have that
I'll-
conversation in training camp where it's going to be like, who's the odd man out? Who can we afford to cut that will not make it to our practice squad?
Yep.
And that's where there's going to be a battle.
Yep. I think Jackson Meeks is an interesting guy. He has a chance to make the roster. He's tall, he's big, and so like he's one of those that'd be his pathway of making the roster is, as a replacement for like JMO if JMO were to get injured or something like that. It's a big wide receiver. Tom Kennedy is Tom Kennedy. He's gonna probably end up on the practice squad. He's probably gonna end up on the team at some point. Dan Pask asked, "Do you think Tom Kennedy keeps his kick return duties? Uh, do you think he ended the 2025 season that he's earned that spot this year? What do you think about that?"
I think that Tom Kennedy proved that he was our best option. He was the most productive that we had last year. But you're not building the team correctly if you don't have anyone that can improve upon that. So maybe we enter it right now like, hey, Tom did a really good job. It's his job to lose. But I don't think that Tom Kennedy is going to be our answer. And I don't think that would be enough of a reason for him to make the 53 is just because he had, some flashes of the kickoff. Now, if nobody else can return, Pacheco or any of these other guys can't return kicks, and Tom Kenny is the most productive, that would be the only way that I think he makes the roster.
Yeah. Tom Kenny's role is going to be the same as it always was. He's going to be a practice squad guy that they could bring up. I think the reason why he was successful at kick return duties is he wasn't trying to do too much. He just ran straight ahead. Like if you watch him, it's not like he was putting on awesome moves or anything like that. He just ran to the hole and just kept going, and it wasn't trying to create too much. And that's good enough a lot of times. So I'm hoping the other members of this team learn from that and just, take advantage of that. Use your blocking, use your vision, hit the hole, and just go and get all the yards you can get. And don't try to be cute and end up, getting tackled at 25 like that. You don't want the offense starting way back there. I don't expect too much from Malik Cunningham. He is, you know, they'll get another year of growth from him. We'll see if he does anything. He was active for like a game last year, right? I'm pretty sure he was active for at least a game or two last year. And they used him as the Lamar, running quarterback clone because he's got quarterback, history, and we could simulate that pretty well.
Right.
Cedric Wilson was signed. We talked about him a little bit after the signing. We didn't talk about him too much. He started 5 games last year. He had 5 receptions, 44 receiving yards. That was with Miami. Played with New Orleans before that, had 20 receptions. So the most he's had in a year is 45 receptions. That was in 21 in Dallas. This to me is a veteran that may make the practice squad. If he's making the team, I'd be very surprised. You got any thoughts on those bottom guys, Cunningham, Wilson?
Wilson, veteran presence, to help the team out. He's 30 years old. He's not going to be, a threat out there. Maybe he can provide value being a part of the receiver room, like you said, on the practice squad. Malik Cunningham, same thing. I mean, we're giving him a chance here. He's not, exactly young and fresh either. So, and Malik Cunningham's been around. I don't see either of those guys as being a real legitimate threat to make the 53. They would have to show a lot during training camp.
Exactly. They're practice squad guys if they get there. Cedric Wilson definitely, he's got some experience. We have a lot of young guys on this team, and I could see him, being on the vet squad, especially early in the season. If we need to bring someone else, they might be comfortable bringing him up as a 4th wide receiver option just because of his experience in the league. I wanted to talk about the PFF grades real quick for the guys. Amon-Ra came out 3rd last year. Emo was 31st, which is good. You got 2, top 30 wide receivers there. You got Tesla came out 77th, and Dorch was actually 80th. So we got 4 guys that made the cut as far as wide receivers. Howard, Tesla has a lot to grow, and he showed big improvements in the last part of the year, so he could really grow on that. And like I said, if he gets some good 3rd down catches, his rating will go up.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver crew here. Obviously, we start off with Justin Jefferson. Then you got Jordan Addison. He is on his last year of his deal. He's got the 5th-year option, which they exercised this year, so he will be with the team next year. You got Juwan Jennings, Miles Price, Deshaun Jones, Dante Fleming, Joaquin Davis, Ty Felton, Terrell Davis, Luke Wysong, Marcus Sanders, and Dylan Bell. A lot of unrestricted free agents towards the back end of those rosters. So if you don't recognize those names, don't be shocked because they're new this year. Thoughts on Justin Jefferson rebounding this year, Jacob?
Real quick, at what name on that list did you get lost where you're like, I've never even heard of this guy before?
I know Juwan Jennings, but after that, I was
exactly.
After the 3rd name, I was definitely like, okay, yeah, I don't really know any of these guys at all.
Right. Jay Jettas, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, and then you have Miles Price, who was an undrafted free agent. Deshaun Jones, free agent. Fleming, free. None of those guys were drafted. Felton was a draft pick. Ty Felton was a draft pick, but I mean, yeah. So they've got a million receivers on the roster. A lot of them undrafted free agents. what I assume is a wide open battle for like maybe 5 receiver spots. But, starting with Justin Jefferson, obviously one of the best in the league, did not, he had a rough year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be a telling year, I guess, because the main knock on that is that, they said it was because of quarterback play. They blamed J.J. McCarthy, then McCarthy gets hurt, and then he's got Carson Wentz. What was the guy's name? Max. I try to tune that out, from the Christmas game.
Yeah.
Anyway, quarterback play kind of shoddy. He still had decent numbers, but not great numbers, not elite numbers that you would expect from him. So they blame that on the quarterback play. And then now the Vikings get Kyler Murray. Is that enough of an upgrade where all of a sudden he's going to blow up and come back to form? Was it his fault at all last year? I mean, they know that's where they want to go. He was still targeted like 140 times or something like that. So this is going to be a big season for him to try to, prove people wrong, I guess, try to prove himself right again. He is signed through 2028. The cap hit for this year is $21.2 million. That jumps to $49.5 million next year, and then $53.5 million in 2028. So, you got to wonder, like, is Justin Jefferson, is this it for him? Is he all in right now? Or do you think he pulls, like, please just trade me? Do you think he tries to find a way out of Minnesota? Minnesota might be like, hey, you know what? We're not getting enough return on this $50 million a year investment. It just seems unlikely where things are leading right now that they re-sign him again like that, or that he'd be up for re-signing, unless he really loves Minnesota.
Yeah, well, if they keep paying him like that, then he's going to resign.
But I think a lot of teams would pay him, and he would probably have much more success at other teams. I mean, we're only a year. He had one down year when Darnold left. Since Darnold left, he goes down last year.
Well, I think the quarterback play is interesting. Whether Kyler Murray does well or not this year, then the Vikings are in a tough spot because, all right, so if Kyler Murray does really well, do you let him walk and then go back to JJ? And that seems unlikely, right? If Kyler Murray does well and then you want to pay him, he's going to want a big contract. He's getting the league minimum this year because of the deal with the Arizona Cardinals, but he's not going to get that after that. So you're not going to get off real cheap this year. And you talked about the cap hits coming to Justin Jefferson. Now, if you look at the contract, he only has one void year on that deal. They could extend that out 4 more years, turn that base salary into, to a signing bonus and spread that cap hit out. So they will probably have to do that because when we start talking about Jordan Addison, he's going to start costing more money too next year. He's got a $4.3 million cap hit, but it's going to be $18 million next year unless they sign him because that's the 5th-year option. That's the price for a 5th-year option is $18 million. Unless they sign him to an extension, then they could, spread that out. The Vikings are in a weird spot. Like you look at these, just between these two players, your cap hit is jumping up like 35 million. And then we already talked about the quarterback situation and they're already tight to the cap already. So I find it their GM really hamstrung them because when you talked about the guy that the 3rd round pick is Ty Felton, they drafted him in the 3rd round last year. He only had 46 snaps and 3 receptions last year for a 3rd rounder. I mean, he's like picked. That's the same round as Tesla. And, if Tesla would have had 46 snaps and 3 receptions, we would not have been happy at all. So it's a weird situation there. And adding Juwan Jennings will help. But like you said, we don't recognize any of the names after that. And, is Kyler Murray the guy to bring you up? I don't know. I mean, obviously, the obvious answer is feed Justin Jefferson. And I still think he's a great wide receiver. I think last year was an aberration, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't believe last year was his fault. I think that was a lot of it was the way game script was going and game plan and maybe, a decent amount of quarterback play, that fell into that.
Yep. Justin Jefferson ended up being the 16th ranked wide receiver last year, PFF. Jordan Addison was 72nd, and Jawan Jennings, who they added this year, was 62nd. So they only had 3 players in there. And Justin Jefferson is, I know he's rated 16th, but to me, he's better than that. All right, Bears wide receivers. Jacob, I'll let you go through these guys.
The Bears. No more DJ Moore. He's out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Bears receivers for next year: Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Khalif Raymond. That hurts. Xavion Thomas, J.P. Richardson, Maurice Alexander, Jade Walker, Scott Miller, Kyron Hudson, Omari Kelly. Not unlike, our situation where they've pretty much got their set, probably 4 or 5 already. The other guys maybe battling for another spot. We don't know. But young receivers, a lot to prove. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Bears. They're all on rookie. Not all. Most are on rookie options. Who is it? Maurice Alexander. I don't think he's on a regular contract.
No, and Scotty Miller too. Scotty Miller's just signed for this year. He's on a regular contract.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's league minimum. I'm sure Maurice Alexander is league minimum. Maurice Alexander played for, 1 snap.
Yes.
He left us and then went over there and played 1 wide receiver snap last year. Might have played some special team snaps. I'm sure he did, but 1 offensive wide receiver snap. Rome Odunze, good wide receiver, had a little health issue last year. We'll see how he bounces back. Luther Burden he's going to be a problem. I was super impressed with him last year. I don't like that he's on. He's a weapon for Ben Johnson over there. I think that he's going to continue to grow. And then they added Khalif, who you said, it's going to be tough seeing him in Bears colors next year.
Right. Not so much that we're worried about his threat on the offense, but, longtime Lion hurts to see him wearing the enemy's jersey. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot up in the air with this because, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, they're obviously both young. There's still room for growth. They've showed potential that they could be, a definite, really solid 1-2 punch. But, the jury's still out. We don't know. I mean, they could possibly fall flat if they do just the same that they did last year. Both of them had around 45 catches, 600 yards, just a handful of touchdowns. Neither did, extremely well. The leading receiver on the Bears last year was Colston Loveland, even with DJ Moore. And that, if you're the Bears, you hope to God that's not the case again, but it may be, right? Loveland is really good. Loveland may be the top receiver again. But you're wanting Luther Burden and Rome Odunze to branch out. You're hoping that both of them are closer to 1,000 yards, closer to 10 touchdowns.
Well, I mean, quarterback's going to have to complete more than 55% of passes to get there.
He's the Iceman, Jason. He's the Madden cover athlete. He's a bona fide superstar.
He is number 1 draft pick. Just amazing, right? Everything about him oozes awesomeness. No, Robotunze he's good too. Like but I am glad that they got rid of DJ Moore. I know that DJ Moore had some issues on the field, whether, giving up on plays, stuff like that, but he was a big body and that's going to be a tough player to move on from, in my opinion. We'll see how the Bears react to all that, but they do have good options. Odunze, Burden, and Colston Loveland those are top receiving threats.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call DJ Moore a big body, but I like DJ Moore being there because of the fact that I feel like he gave up a lot and just wasn't, he disappeared a lot. Yeah. Without DJ Moore there, without him, now you're going to see more Luther Burden. You're going to see more Rome Odunze. And that I don't really like, especially because I traded away Luther Burden in my Dynasty League this year. So I really need him to not.
Always comes back to your fantasy team. All right, cool.
When it comes to everybody else.
Yeah. So Luther Burden was actually the highest ranked wide receiver on the roster as concerned to PFF. He was 27th. Rome Odunze was 46th, and Khalif Raymond was 49th. So they added, based on PFF grades, a top wide receiver. It'd be interesting to see how much play Khalif gets. Like if he's going to get the same amount of snaps, is he going to be a punt return? I'm curious how, number one, why he decided to switch. I don't think we'll ever figure out that answer because I don't necessarily think it was like the Lions wouldn't offer him contract because they openly wanted him back, but maybe he felt like with Tesla growing, he was going to get less opportunities on offense.
I mean,
That's my feeling.
but he already has a relationship with Randall L. and with Ben Johnson, and you don't know maybe those conversations, and maybe that was part of it. He was like, I want to be more of a part on the offense, and they might have said, that's what we got for you over here. More touches.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else on any of these wide receivers that you don't know the names of?
No,
These
we're going to move on.
free agents? Yeah. All right. Packers wide receivers. The collection of the greatest wide receivers. They're all number ones, as they've said for the last 4 off seasons.
Any Packers fan, I'll tell you, all of them would be
Yes.
number one on a different team.
Yeah, they're all that's the problem for Jordan Love. He's got too many wide receivers to feed. So I'll let you introduce the Packers wide receiver core this year.
All right, the Packers wide receivers this year: Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Sky Moore, and this is where the drop off happens, I believe. Isaiah Nair, Will Shepard, Jacoby Keeney James, Savion Williams, Brendan Rice, J. Michael Sturdivant. So Savion Williams was a draft pick recently, as was Matthew Golden, was their first, the first round pick. They finally used a first round pick on a receiver, Matthew Golden, and he returned the favor by putting up a goose egg in the touchdown category his rookie season.
He did.
Christian Watson signed through this year. Cap hit $6.3 million. He has 3 void years on his contract, so $3.6 million dead cap next year. Not a very big contract. You got to think if you're Christian Watson that you're pulling for an extension right now. Real quick, before we break down too much of the Packers wide receivers, because I just had to mention this. How did Christian Watson get an all-pro vote? Do you remember that? Did you see that? What Packers writer gave him an all-pro vote and allowed him to be part of that list? 58th in yards, 116th in receptions, and he got an all-pro vote. What are we doing?
I did not know that until you just said that. That's lunacy. Yeah. Check the vote. It's like the Hall of Fame voting. People didn't vote for Belichick. Like, who voted for Christian Watson for all-pro?
Yeah. Right. Make these public.
I watched the games, man. He just affected it so much.
Right. Classic Packers fan, right?
Exactly. He was 11th rated in PFF, however. So PFF, based on that, even then he's not a top 10 wide receiver. So, we'll see if he gets the extension this year. That he could be on extension watch. And Matthew Golden, 0 touchdowns last year. Did start to play better towards the second half of the year. You're hoping for a big jump from Golden this year to make that first round pick worthwhile.
Jaden Reed, hard to do worse.
Jaden Reed is still on the team. He's receiving options. Sky Moore they added this year. Played last year for San Francisco. Did not start any games. Had 5 receptions for 87 yards. Only played in 6 games for KC the year before. Not that much of a threat. You lost.
It was Romeo Doubs
to New England, who was like a safety valve for Love, much like Tucker Kraft was. So it's going to be without both of those guys. We'll see how Watson does when there's just going to be more tension for him. Matthew Golden's going to have to make a big step up for them to have, a better wide receiver core than they had last year. And I don't know if I see it.
Yeah, I think they have to re-sign Watson especially because they lost Doubs. And I don't know if the conversation with Doubs, if they just didn't think he was worth as much as he was getting, or if Doubs just wanted to move on elsewhere. But, I mean, you look at this receiver room as it stands, if Christian Watson's not there, and, man, are they in trouble. Yeah. I like Jaden Reed. He can't really stay healthy either. Christian Watson's never been able to stay healthy. And when Christian Watson is out there and when he's on his game, he actually is a good receiver. Like, I'll give him that. I'm not knocking that he's not a good receiver. He's not healthy, and he's not elite. You're not putting up elite numbers. You're not being as big of a threat as you should. Carving us up on Thanksgiving one time, but,
Well, Jordan Love, I mean, if anything, he can throw the deep ball, and Christian Watson can, he's a deep threat. So that's a good combination there. However, I just, I don't think he's deserving of an All-Pro vote by any stretch of the imagination. I
Right,
do think
right.
I think he is a solid wide receiver, and especially when healthy, but you also have to be on the field. You have to be available for your team, and when you're not doing that, then you're not any good to anybody there. I did not see Matt Golan had decent playoffs, so we'll see if that continues to grow. Definitely not writing him off. I mean, you can have a huge growth between rookie year and your sophomore season. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, I hope it's not good, but first round pick, you could see a sizable jump this year. There's definitely going to be more passes available for him to catch with Dobbs out there, and early in the season, Tucker Kraft won't be out there.
Right. But typically first round receivers, first round draft picks, usually when they're going to be great, they blow up pretty quickly. They show a lot of good flashes right away. Sometimes too good, right? Sometimes you get that sophomore slump. So for him to, to play at the level that he did, I'm trying to find right now how many targets he had, because I don't even think he was targeted 44 times, 29 catches, no touchdowns. 44 targets for a first round pick's not a lot.
No, and he was healthy too. Like he didn't miss any. Did he miss any games?
I don't think he missed any games.
Yeah, I don't remember him
Let me
missing
see.
any games.
It says he played in 14, so he did miss a handful of games.
Okay.
So we'll give him that. But I mean, that's not even close. Dobbs had 85 targets, 55 catches, 6 touchdowns. They let him go.
He wanted to wear his guardian cap for another team. He didn't like how big his head looked with the. Now my boys swear that he wears that on purpose because he's a smaller guy to get noticed. That's what they swear to me, that's what that they heard. I don't know if a YouTuber told them that. I don't know.
Like down the field, like so that Jordan Love can see him better.
Yeah, like his huge head.
That's interesting. I can see that though. Like I mean, I get it.
Yeah, they swear to
Can't
that.
miss that big
tell me
Chiefs head running down
every game. So when we see him with the Patriots, they'll tell me the same thing. I know that's coming. All right. Next thing we're going to do is rank team wide receiver units in the NFC North. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. Mine's right on the screen. I'm going with the Lions number 1. Amon-Ra, I will not say he's the best wide receiver in this division, but he's certainly the most consistent. He's the wide receiver in this division that I really want on this team. His connection with Jared Goff is unreal. So I'm going to give that, especially when you had J-Mo, 2 top targets, and I have faith that Tesla is going to get better. My second might surprise you. I don't know if it will or not. I'm curious what you put. I went with the Bears. I have a lot of faith in Adunze and Burden, and I think they're going to be good. And then Adam Khalif is that gives them another solid option out there. But I think Burden's going to keep excelling. Had trouble putting the Vikings third just because I think Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in this division, and I think the fall off was an aberration last year. But when we went through their roster, it's Jefferson and Addison, and then Juwan Jennings, but then no one else I've ever heard of. So that's why it's like that. And then I went with the Packers fourth. If Golden makes a jump up and Watson's healthy, they could move up in this list. But to me, they're the clear number 4 on this list. Do you have a graphic for yours, or are you just going to tell me what you got?
I don't have a graphic for this one. I'm just going to tell you what I got.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So number 4 on my list, I have the Chicago Bears.
Nice.
But here's the thing about that. I have them 4th right now, but I do really feel like there's a chance by the end of this season that Rome Odunze and Luther Burden could be in the conversation for being like one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. I think they're not that far off from being able to make that a reality. But as things stand right now and how things look last year, there's still just a lot of unknown. So I will admit that there's potential for them to be like at the top, but right now I've got them 4th.
Okay.
3rd, I've got the Packers. We already said Watson and Reed both, if they both stay healthy, they both show a lot of flashes of like really good play. They're just inconsistent and they're not healthy. And Matthew Golden didn't show much last year. All could be great receivers. We'll see. 2nd, I have the Vikings, and that's strictly just because of the Justin Jefferson thing. I mean, Now I think there's a real conversation between Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra about who's the best in the division. I still think that Justin Jefferson is like one of the elite top tier players. He only had 2 touchdowns last year. Crazy, crazy stat. I feel like he could have twice that much by week 3 this year. He is just one of the best in the league. I know they don't have too much behind him, but I do feel like he's enough having him on that team. And then number 1, I have us. And we're back to the homer thing again, but Amon-Ra and J-Mo were both top 10 in receiving yards. Amon-Ra has made the All-Pro team 3 years in a row. I really don't think that I know how fans are and I know delusional and everything like that, but I don't think that anybody could honestly debate that we have the best wide receiver room in the North. I don't think that there's any real merit to argue that at all. I mean, they're first and second in the NFC North in touchdowns. They're first and second in yards. They're first and third in receptions. I think Justin Jefferson had more receptions than J-Mo. But they're 1-2, 1-2. And I mean, I don't, any other stat, metric, anything you want to look at, I just don't think that there's any real argument to say that the Lions don't have the best wide receivers in the North.
I agree. I don't think it's a homer pick at all. And you go. I mean, I'd rather have J-Mo than Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison's a solid wide receiver, but if you're gonna say Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson are fairly close, obviously different wide receivers. I think Justin Jefferson, you know, we'll talk about it when we get our top 10 wide receivers. Justin Jefferson is a real talent. I know he is off last year, but the difference between J-Mo and Jordan Addison is real. And I think J-Mo took a huge step last year, changing, upgrading what routes he could run. The comeback route was huge. We talked about it a lot during the season. It wasn't just a deep threat anymore. He was a viable third down threat, catch third down passes. So
I also
all
feel
right.
like Tesla being third wide receiver 3, I think Tesla will probably have better statistics than any other wide receiver 3 in any of these other teams as well. So I would
I
think you
agree.
could say 1, 2, 3, we've got the best of all.
I'm with you on that. I think we probably have a little faith in Tesla more than probably people and fans of the Bears or Packers or Vikings do, but I think it's real. We saw the growth the second half of last year. I think that he's going to be a real threat this year.
They know. The Packers know. They seen it.
They did see it. All right, I'm gonna let you go next. We are going to do our top 3 Lions wide receivers. I'm curious who made your list. I have a feeling I know 2. I don't know the third. I'm gonna guess though.
All right.
I
Hang on, let
guess,
me see here.
but I'm gonna get you. I don't want to steal your thunder. I have a guess in my head though.
Okay. Well, you keep it in your head. Let's see here.
Did Kelvin make your list? I'm wondering if he made your list or not.
Who'd you say? Calvin? Who's that?
Yeah, did Kelvin make your favorite Lions list? Wide receiver? Is he one of the best of all time for the Lions?
You will find out in a moment. Of course, I went through this before we started to make sure this was not going to be a problem, and now I can't get it to come up. Technical difficulties. Give me a second here.
Oh my god. So Tigers won 8-0. So I guess we're back. All it took me is for me to give up on him. No. Jack Flaherty got his first win. He's 1-7 with his 5.31 ERA.
There we go, Jack.
De Jesus got the save. All right. He must have pitched last
it's going to let me
All
share
right.
my entire screen, so we're just going to do it like this. Can you see
All right.
this?
Yeah, oh yeah. We got
You can hear me. Okay. All right, my top 3 Lions wide receivers. Number 3, we have Golden Tate.
That was who I was going to guess.
It skipped on me. Let me hide this. Golden Tate, number 3. You said you were going to guess him?
Yep.
I mean, iconic during my years of watching the Lions. I chose the picture here when he did that flip into the end zone to beat Minnesota, but awesome 1-2 punch, with him and Calvin Johnson. I really like Golden Tate when he was here. Number 2, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Already proved himself to be amongst the Lions greats. Definitely at the rate that he's going, he's, possibly statistically going to be the best Lions receiver of all time. But number 1 on my list, I have Megatron, Calvin Johnson. Easy pick. Definitely, what he brings to the table physically, the stats, everything that he did. Obviously retired a little too soon. What could have been, but Calvin is the best, one of the best of all time, and definitely the best Lions wide receiver. So
I like the picture that you put there. I am going to show mine because I think I found the exact same picture as
hey,
you for Calvin Johnson.
nice.
All right. Mine is Amon-Ra, Calvin Johnson, and instead of Golden Tate, I went with Herman Moore. You probably don't remember Herman Moore too much from,
I know him, but I
that
don't
was
really
when you were
remember.
younger.
Right.
Yeah. He was an amazing wide receiver during his time. He made amazing catches. He was my favorite wide receiver the Lions ever had until we got Calvin and Amon-Ra. I really wish I could have put Golden Tate on this list because I do like Golden Tate a lot. I like his yards after catch. I liked his attitude. Even though he flipped in the end zone in that Minnesota game and that was a risky thing, it was still cool to win the game like that. Yeah, but yeah, Herman Moore, loved him. I still think of him and the old school jerseys with Barry Sanders on Thanksgiving Day. Special things. I like it, and he is still doing his podcast thing with the Lions, and still Lions fan. So shout outs to Herman Moore. But yeah, Calvin Johnson speaks for himself. Just one of the all time greats. And Amon-Ra is quickly moving up his list. That'll be hard to pass Calvin Johnson, but statistically, he probably will one day. And if he wins a title with us, then it might be an amazing debate someday about Calvin Johnson and Amon-Ra.
That's what I was
It's
just going to
obviously
ask. What do you think that Amon-Ra needs to do to surpass Calvin Johnson? Because he can't
he's
be
got to
the physical traits,
no,
right? He can't
no,
make up for that. But numbers
no,
wise, the way, I mean, he's already been on probably the best Lions team that we've had. So, what
yeah,
more does Amon-Ra need to do to surpass Calvin? Can he surpass Calvin?
yeah.
I don't know that he can.
I don't know if he can either because Calvin Johnson. It's not anything about work ethic, obviously, or anything like that. It's just a matter of Calvin Johnson was a freak of nature and just
Right.
able to run at like incredible speeds at and there are a lot of wide receivers that can run at incredible speeds. I mean, you get like a DK Metcalf. All the measurables are very similar to Calvin Johnson: height, weight, speed. But Calvin Johnson was able to, his catch radius was unreal. Like he was just super reliable. And his attitude was very weird for a wide receiver. Quiet and during his time, and didn't say too much. Maybe he should have said more. Maybe he could have got his feelings out, and then he, would have not retired so early. I don't know, but yeah, Calvin Johnson, just all time great. All right, next on our list are the top 5 current wide receivers. I'm really curious.
I was just going to say, this is where it's going to be interesting because I don't think we're going to have the same 5. We might be really different. I'll be disappointed if you have the exact same 5 as me.
Because will that degrade your list then because we match, or is it just you want no talking point?
A little bit.
All right.
No,
All right.
I want the talking points.
All right. This one's kind of a surprise. I'm going with JSN number 5. He's got to do it for more than 1 year for him to move up on this list. However, he was amazing last year, and say what you say about Sam Darnold, he's had 2 pretty good years. So, I mean, he's definitely I'd say solid quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterback last year. Just JSN, I want to see more from him, and he could definitely move up on this list. But that's all I got to say about him. Number 4, I went with Amon-Ra. He's at 4, which I think is low for me. I really want to believe he's higher. I think some of the other wide receivers ahead of him have things that they could do that Amon-Ra just can't do, especially with the deep part of the field. However, there isn't a wide receiver probably on this list that I would want instead of Amon-Ra. So his connection with Jared Goff, what he means to this team, what he's done for the city, everything about Amon-Ra, his demeanor, I love him. So just because I put him 4 on here doesn't mean that I would trade him for 3, 2, 1 on my list. Number 3, Justin Jefferson. I know he had a setback year last year, but he could still be number 1 on this list. But as far as, where he was last year, his quarterback situation going into this year, we'll see. But you put him in, if you put him with like Josh Allen or any of these top quarterbacks, there'd be no question that he'd be the number one wide receiver. But I'm just gonna say, with everything that's went on, I'm gonna put him at number 3. Number 2, Jamar Chase. He had this is one of those guys where, like, would I trade Amon-Ra for Jamar Chase? No, I wouldn't. I like Amon-Ra's demeanor and everything about him before more. But Jamar Chase, with the, with what was the quarterback situation last year, and he still produced. Like, he's a very good wide receiver. He's super dangerous all over the field, whether he's catching possession over the middle or if he's going deep, he could take it to the house at any point in the field. He is a solid wide receiver. And my number 1, I hate to do it, but it's Puka Nacua. That guy he's amazing. Now, he's had issues in the offseason. He's obviously has some maturity stuff going on, but he made catch after catch, super reliable. And Matthew Stafford helped make this guy a star. He's an amazing wide receiver. But that's who's my number 1 right now is Puka Nacua.
I'm shocked at the number 1.
You are?
Shocked.
All right.
Great
All right.
receiver. But
Why?
number
'Cause it
one,
matched?
number 1 above
Okay.
everybody. Shocked.
Yeah. I think it is. He can make the tough catch. He's made some amazing catches. He's good. I like Puka Nacua. That's the Rams draft so well. All right.
Yeah. All right.
I want to see your list now. Yep.
Top 5 current wide receivers. At number 5, I have Puka Nacua. Great wide receiver. I don't have him number 1 just yet. Kind of the same as the JSN thing, where I don't know that I've seen it enough. The sample size is great. I definitely think he's
Okay.
up there. I don't know that you could, give him the crown right away. No doubt, like what he's been able to do, such a reliable target for Stafford. A real deep find for the Rams. So I don't like that, but definitely one of the top guys right now. Number 4, I have CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. Has all the physical tools. Now, George Pickens maybe stole a little bit of targets from him in Dallas, but he also had an injury last year, too. So, Dallas is going to be dangerous with a 1-2 punch like that again. I think CeeDee Lamb, he's got everything that you want in a receiver. I'll leave it at that. Number 3, Amon-Ra. It's funny because we talk about the Calvin Johnson thing, and I think that that's the main knock that people still have on Amon-Ra is that he's just not tall. He's not going to be, a downfield threat like that, but he doesn't have to be, and he works perfectly for what we do. He's still an elite receiver, one of the best in the league for sure. He just doesn't really get as much love as he deserves. Number 2 on the list, I have Justin Jefferson. He's still just one of the best to do it. I know we already talked about him. Elite, had some little bit of down year. I don't think that'll continue to be the trend. Number 1, I have Jamar Chase. And it pains me to put Jamar Chase number 1 because I don't really care for, I know he doesn't like, he said stuff about the Lions and Amon-Ra and just certain attitude things with Jamar Chase I don't really care for. But you can't deny that, when he's on the field, he's elite. He is a huge threat, and he's been doing it consistently at the top. So I think he's got to be number 1 right now.
All right.
And then I have
was
my
surprised
GOAT
that he was
too.
up that high. I thought you might put Amon-Ra ahead of Jamar Chase. I was curious about that, but
he's above Jamar Chase in my heart, but I got to be real here. All right, I've got my wide receiver GOAT, so I'm just gonna hit next on you.
Go ahead.
So my wide receiver GOAT is gonna be Randy Moss, and this was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Looking at all the great wide receivers and just trying to pick like who would I say is the number 1 that I have. But when you talk about the physical stuff, he had it. Stats, he had it. And, he did pretty much everything. And some of the other guys that are like towards the top, I won't name names just because I want to see who's on yours, but I did not really get to watch them and enjoy them like I did Randy Moss. And we'll talk about the other ones after you say yours, but
all right.
What do you got?
We're going to go to mine.
Steve Largent, I knew it.
And it is Randy Moss.
Wow.
Same as you, man.
Wow. Another surprise. I did not think.
Yeah, no. He is, when you talk about like stats, talent, like flash, everything, this guy had it. And he was just amazing wide receiver. We got to see it up close in the division, unfortunately, for a while. goes to the Raiders, just, was not a good fit there. It goes with Tom Brady and just puts up Madden numbers while he's there. It just does Randy Moss things, one-handed catches. When you have a term named after you, you got mossed.
Yeah,
That
right.
puts you in an elite category, and it's just. My kids say it all the time, and they really never got to see Randy Moss. But they still say the term, "You just got mossed." Like, I think that might have been Preston's fantasy football team name last year or something like
But
that.
yeah.
Yeah, just an amazing wide receiver. I had trouble not putting Jerry Rice in this spot. See, because he was at the top of the league for so long. And he just did amazing things. He was just incredibly hard worker. He was just an amazing wide receiver. Then it went to the Raiders and still put up, he was almost, I think, 40 when he went to Seattle. Like, he played in, like, I don't know, I think he retired before the season started or whatever. But, to play that long and just at a super high level. But Randy Moss just had those gifts that just made you go, wow. And yeah, he was amazing. Who else was on? You wanted to talk about some other wide receivers. Who else was in your thought process?
There's just some great ones at the top. And that was the thing, like Jerry Rice undoubtedly deserves conversation to be at the top. But when I saw Jerry Rice, it was like, later in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really, to the same effect. But then, Terrell Owens, did all kinds of great things, not so much off the field, but on the field. Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, right? Megatron really does have like, the right to at least be in that sort of conversation, although he just didn't play as long as the other guys. So, it was kind of difficult for me to narrow it down, but then you're right. Everything you said about Randy Moss, especially like the You Got Moss thing.
Yeah. Well, I think Randy Moss is in like the same category as Calvin Johnson until he hits the Patriots years and then just like explodes with Brady. Like,
and that could have been Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, it could have been. Like, just if the thing isn't like so disappointing with Calvin Johnson is because you got Stafford who's making all these other wide receiver stars. If we could have just surrounded them with the right coaching, with anything, we were set up. Stafford was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He just never showed it with
MVP.
Detroit.
MVP.
Yeah, he was it. And Calvin Johnson just never got to. They just never got to put it on the big stage for various numbers of reasons. It's too bad. But I think Randy Moss is, from what I've seen, and I think for me, like, I grew up like even through '90s football running like, still people ran like more than they passed, and now I've seen it turn into a passing league. I'm sure there were some great older wide receivers, but they weren't throwing it up, and just saying give them 50-50 balls. That was not the way you played football in the '90s or before. That's like a 2000s thing. And yeah, Randy Moss just did it better than anybody I've ever seen.
Look, because I remember him being on the cover of a game when I was younger. It looks like it was NFL 2K, Sega Sports NFL 2K. So this was like Sega Dreamcast. He was the cover athlete for the football game. Long time ago.
What year was that?
This is NFL 2K, the first one. So I think that was the year 2000, and then 2K2, which was 2002.
Okay.
So
those are Vikings. He was with the Vikings, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So Dan Pask has a question. He agrees with our choice for the GOAT. He has a quick wide receiver question for about our 53. He goes, very early stage. But do you think we keep 6 with 10 offensive linemen, 3 running backs, 3 tight ends, and 2 quarterbacks? Does that track, or would you go with 7? Do you have any initial thoughts? So you're going to keep. So you're definitely going to keep. You got Amon-Ra, Williams, Tesla, Dorch. There's 4 for sure you're going to keep. Are there 3 others or 2 others that you would keep out of those guys?
Do you think 100% without a doubt that we keep Dorch? How much did he get guaranteed?
I don't know how much he got guaranteed. I think that he's going to be on this team. I think with Petzing there,
they're not probably so too. But I mean, just if we're talking hypotheticals, I don't know that you can say like without a shadow of a doubt, like he absolutely has already earned his spot.
You're right. You're right. There, I mean, he is not in the same confidence level I have for Tesla or JMO or Amon-Ra, but I'm in the like 85%, 90% or higher that Dorch makes this roster. I think Law makes it. I think Law is going to make this. We'll see how training camp goes, but I don't think they spent the 5th round pick on Law for them not to keep him. The question is Lovett or Meeks. I don't think, and then you could say Tom Kennedy if we're going to use him as a kick returner, but I think you made a great point. If Tom Kennedy's our kick returner last year, then we failed this offseason.
Right. I think that we keep 6.
I think
that you already named who it's going to be. I just think that inevitably, depending on how the rest of training camp goes, there's going to be a real conversation, like, between Kendrick Law, Jackson Meeks, Dominic Lovett, which 2 out of the 3 make it. Or do we only keep 5 receivers and try to stash them on the practice squad because we have Tom Kennedy, Malik Cunningham, So it's interesting, but I would say 3 100% without a doubt. Tesla, JMO, Amon-Ra. I can't really say with 100% certainty about Dorch. Law, like you said, if you would think a 5th round pick, that would be a bad look to draft somebody in the 5th round and let them go right away. Not unheard of, though.
No, it's certainly not unheard of. I think Law is going to make it. There's your 5 because I think Dorch is going to make it. I think it comes out to special teams after that. Did Meeks make any special teams games? Lovett was a gunner for some part of the season. Did he add any return elements to his game that could maybe get him on this roster? Because Law is obviously going to be that in that category. And I don't think Kennedy, Cunningham, or Cedric Wilson, outside of injuries, I don't think any of those guys have. They're going to be on the outside looking in. So it's a matter of Lovett or Meeks, and then I think Law makes it, and then whether it comes out to special teams, and it's not just like do those guys. It's special teams in other areas, linebacker, running back. Or we keep 4 running backs, based on, if we got Sailors. Do we with Vaki? Do we keep 4 running backs? Then that would cut out maybe a wide receiver position. So it's very early, obviously, but I think 5. I think Law is the 5th, and then it's going to be Lovett or Meeks after that. That's my early read. We'll see how training camp goes. Obviously, everything could change based on how snaps and everything look and special teams. All right. Anything else?
I'm good. Did we decide what position next or no?
We are going to do secondary. So we are going to combine cornerbacks and safeties. I think what we'll do, Jacob, is we're going to bunch them all together when we go through the teams. So we'll talk about the Lions, defensive backs, cornerbacks, safeties together. But I think maybe we'll, when we rate the league, we'll split that up. When we do our top 5, we'll do top 5 safeties, top 5 cornerbacks.
I like that. And then we have a safety and we'll do a cornerback GOAT.
And we'll do a GOAT for safety. I don't want to put them together for those things.
Yeah.
But as far as when we talk to the teams, we'll just put them together. And the reason why I want to do that is that a lot of times there is some gray area, whether like even on our own team, whether someone's a nickel back or they're, they could play multiple positions. So I think it's better to talk to them all about one. But when you talk about your top players, especially in this league, they're cornerbacks or safeties. So we'll get, that's the way I thought we'd do it. But we'll see if we got any big news next week. I think Thursday is this week. So 2 more days from today, the media will get another view at practice. So we'll have a little more information. So we'll probably break that down. I doubt we're going to have 2 more blockbuster trades to talk about next week. So we'll see what other NFL news. There's obviously contracts going out. Like Steelers signed an edge today. There was obviously the Drake London deal. I've seen a couple other flash on my phone just during this podcast. Well, there might be some other contracts to just talk about, and who knows? Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe he gets his signs to the dotted line and gets an extension between now and then. That could happen this offseason. We'll see if it happens before Bijan or not.
Yeah.
All right. For Jacob, the wide receiver of this group, Jason, I backup long snapper.
Yeah.
extraordinaire. Let's go Lions.